Welcome to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.
Hello and welcome to the MMA Fan Show. I'm Stu Whiffin. Joining me always, beardless, baby-faced Blake Harrison. How are you?
Very good, mate. Very good. Yeah, you can tell that I've been working lately because the beard is gone and I'm looking a few years younger. So I'm back and forth from Belgium again.
And that sort of plays into, really, doesn't it? Why, unfortunately, we're doing this show remotely, not in the studio. Yeah. And ideally, we'd be packing our bags and heading up to Manchester this week. But I think a sort of succession of things has kind of meant it's a bit more sort of problematic than we had initially sort of anticipated. We was quite up for going up there for what would have been maybe like 5 days, I think, to get there for the media day. Obviously, we're based down south in, on the outskirts of London. So to then get up to Manchester, and you can't just keep flitting up there and flitting back. It's like, right, we're going to have to get a hotel for 5 days and quite a long time.
I was up for it. I was up for spooning you romantically during the evening and just, looking forward to the whiffing snoring I've heard so much about. And
that novelty would have worn off after about 10 minutes, mate. Trust me.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it would. I'd be sleeping in like the room where they keep the ice bucket or whatever. It's just it's a shame because just shooting schedules and everything for me back from Belgium couldn't be helped. It is what it is. And again, the fact that the fights are on at like 3, 4, 5 in the morning means that I'll be traveling to Belgium like on the Monday or whatever and filming and stuff. And it's just like, I'll be absolutely wrecked. And to be in actual scenes where you have dialogue and stuff to do, unless your character is dying or incredibly tired, then you just, I'm too old to do that stuff now and actually function like a normal human being. Like I had to come back from Belgium the other day and we had a night shoot in the evening, but I got back at like midnight, but I was on a really early train. I had terrible night's sleep. I had about 4 hours sleep. And then I had to go into King's Cross. I came home for about an hour, lied on the bed, then went to an audition. It's like, my brain's just not functioning properly. It takes me days to get back. When I was in my 20s, I could do stuff like that. No problem. Absolutely. Just a couple of hours here, couple of hours there. No. Nowadays, I'm like, if I don't get like 6, 7 hours sleep, I'm a mess. Yeah. An absolute mess.
Yeah. Maybe it's good that we didn't spoon in Manchester for 5 nights in my snoring because you probably wouldn't have been functioning very well. I imagine that would have kept you up most of the night.
Or I'd have been so tired I'd have got confused and thought you were Kerry or something, and who knows where that could have led to.
Oh dear. Well, look, it's left us with no other option than to I guess watch it from the comfort of our own home. I'm gonna now be working Saturday, so I won't be getting in from work till sort of 4 o'clock in the morning. So I'm imagining I'll probably catch maybe 2 of the fights then, and then I'll probably have some sleep and then watch the rest in the morning.
Yeah, and that's why this is the MMA Fan Show. We are fans. We have other jobs. Do this because we love it. We do this because we love it. And we really enjoy talking about MMA. And Stu and I have no other friends to talk to. So that's why this podcast exists. If you think we're MMA journalists, think again. We are not getting paid for this.
Yeah,
this is not our job. We have other jobs.
Yeah.
And we are trying to do this just because we absolutely love it. And because we've built a little community of I want to say fans. I don't know if that's weird to say, but we've built a community of listeners, watchers. But, enjoy us talking about MMA and get involved and send us messages and all that stuff. And we love it. We absolutely love it. So that's why we're doing this. Apologies that we're not at the studio, and apologies we won't be getting you any content from Manchester. But we will be keeping abreast of what's going on and maybe trying to get you something, or at least just put some stuff out on the socials or whatever. But
absolutely.
Look, now, Blake, the only other thing I've got to bring up, I'm sorry, is that I've got tree surgeons over. And there is a chipper right outside this room. So if it starts getting crazy loud, that's why, and I can only apologise.
Wonderful. Well, Blake said we don't get paid. That's a lie. We do. We get paid in sweets and gum shields. And let me tell you how that works. So one of the sponsors of this podcast is Fat Candy. Now, Fat Candy do freeze-dried sweets. What's been really nice is I had a message from my mate Jamie the other day that said he just bought a load of Fat Candy stuff, and he was enthusing about it. So it's great to see that you lot are supporting Fat Candy, and by doing that, you're supporting this podcast. And so go over to Fat Candy's website. They're tagged in everything we do. They're in the show notes of this, and go and explore freeze-dried sweets, because it's crazy. Whether it's your blackjack, your fruit salads, your cola cubes, all your classic sweets, and your freeze-dried Skittles.
Get them Skittles. Love the Skittles.
A tub of Skittles.
That's the other thing. We're not in the studio, so I don't get my Skittle sugary hit.
Yeah.
And that's another problem with doing this remotely.
And if you go over to there, use the discount code SWEETMMA 15, and that will save you money. So head over to the MMA, to Fat Candy, and the show notes and all the stuff you need to know about the discount code is in the show notes wherever you are getting this show. As well as that, we have Ferocious Fightwear, and they are a fightwear brand, obviously. Does what it says on the tin, does rash guards, shorts, gum shields, wraps, everything you need to know to get yourself in the gym and training. And go check them out. And again, there's a discount code there. Head over to the show notes, click the link, give them a follow on the socials. They're always tagged in our post on Instagram. Give them a follow. Let them know that their sponsorship of this show is working. Right. Should we start at the top and work our way down?
Yeah, boy.
Leon
Edwards, Bilal
Rocky
Muhammad.
Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad. They've let Bilal out of the room, and and he's finally got his shot, and he's fighting the guy that had to sit in that room and wait for his shot as well. And this is obviously a rematch, and to a kind of, well, the last fight ended in circumstances that, well, I guess we can say that for both the main and the co-main. The first outings ended, in ways that we don't like to see.
God, I wonder what that'll do in terms of like the MMA gods and the fortune. Will they give us more weird endings? Are the two fighters just destined for terrible endings, or will it go the complete other way? We had one fight from each other, Aspinall Blades and Edwards Muhammad, that was like ended in really terrible fashion. Will it now be that we get some crazy knockouts or something like that? Let's see how it goes. But talking about that first fight, did you rewatch the first fight at all?
I haven't. No. Like, so it's just not too far from my head. In my recollection, tell me if I'm wrong. Like, Leon was quite dominant in that fight.
He definitely won the first round convincingly enough. Hurt Bilal with a head kick at one point, but in my head, it was the way that people talk about it is like, because Leon won that round so convincingly, he definitely would have gone on and won the fight. And this fight now, like, Leon should be heavily favored because of that one round. Watching it back, I was like, yeah, Leon's winning, but it's not like Bilal didn't have little moments, or like that had Bilal come out in the second or third round and change things up a bit, maybe things could have gone differently. Like, it feels like there's an element of, oh, this is a foregone conclusion because of one round of fighting. And that, to me, is a bit small-minded. I kind of feel like we need to think about this, not only the fact that it was just one round, and yes, Leon was dominant enough, but he didn't blow Bilal away or anything like that. But on top of that, I think what we need to really consider with this fight is how much probably both men, but particularly Bilal, has improved. Bilal's gone and worked with Khabib and Islam over in like Dagestan. And, he's really put the work in there. Wrestling's improved. His striking is definitely improved. Is it anywhere near the level of Leon Edwards? Absolutely not. And you can see that in like the Gilbert Burns fight. Like, it's improved, but it's not great. But yeah, I feel like when we think about Bilal Muhammad, he is a bit dull. He's not got the personality that really people gravitate towards. But let's
just on that point there, right? Leon's not got the most dynamic personality. Like, he's got the Rocky story, and that's amazing. And he seems like such a nice dude, but he's not got bags of charisma when he sort of, gets interviewed and things like that. And obviously,
I think he's improved a lot since becoming champion, actually.
Yeah. I mean, look,
I think his interviews have become far
we
more
love Leon
interesting.
Edwards, but
You hate Leon Edwards. Yeah, you quote Stu hates Leon Edwards. Yeah.
He's not Paddy Pimblett, and he's not sort of Tom Aspinall talked really well. And I think Leon's just seems like a shy, kind of quiet guy. Like, do you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, but I actually feel like he's massively improved since becoming champion. And not only that, he had that outrageous moment with Usman in Salt Lake City with that head kick out of nowhere. But then after that, he came out with the headshot dead thing. And that really resonated with people. Look, when we were in the O2 and he was fighting Colby Covington, in the post-fight press conference and in the arena, headshot dead, was ringing out. That's Leon. And then people have really, really, I think, fallen in love with Leon as a fighter. Not just because of that head kick, but because of the quote afterwards. Then the fact that he dealt with Usman so well in that second fight. And then the fact that he dealt with Colby so well as well. And the fact that Colby's such a piece of shit and what he was saying about Leon's dad and all that stuff. I think people really were like, nah, that's not on. I mean, even people that were maybe on the fence probably went after that, I'm definitely rooting for Leon now. So I do think that Leon has, in his own way, got an element. Not like, I think, I don't know whether to say he's a star or not. Is he a star? He's obviously not Izzy. He's not Pereira. He's not O'Malley or any of these kind of superstars. He's not Max and Justin. But he's someone, people take notice now. And I think people enjoy watching Leon fight. And I think some of his interviews have got way better as well. And he's having a bit more of a laugh with things and he seems more confident and relaxed and all these things. He's the champ. He is the champ, 2 times defended.
So how do you see this playing out then?
Well, let's just talk a little bit about Bilal, because I feel like Bilal does get a bad rap at times. But let's make no mistake, he's on a 10-fight unbeaten streak. Yes, there's the Leon one, and yes, he was losing that fight, but it was an eye poke. He's on a 10-fight unbeaten streak, and he's beaten Wonderboy, beaten Sean Brady, beaten Gilbert Burns, beaten Damian Maia and Luque. Like, these guys, not, I know Maia's not in there anymore, but they're ranked guys when he beat all right. Wonderboy's still a big problem for people that can't take him down. Gilbert Burns is a problem for people, although I have to say that Gilbert Burns win, Burns fought only a month before, and he was not quite himself with that one. But Sean Brady, didn't he give Sean Brady his first loss? Brady's a really good fighter.
Well, Muhammad deserves this shot. 100% deserves this shot.
100%. And I would say he is maybe underestimated in terms of his chances. However, the fact that for me, the only way Leon loses this fight is if he's taken Bilal too lightly. And that's my concern, that everyone's taking Bilal too lightly. That feeds into camp, that feeds into Leon. And he's not treating him like Usman, like Colby, because Leon also has had such a great run in terms of the fight camps he's had leading up to this moment. Bilal is arguably not as good, but a very similar style as Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington. Like, he's not got the volume and the cardio of Colby, although it's good. He's not got I think Usman's striking is way better than Bilal's striking, and more powerful as well. And so Bilal's got the wrestling, but Leon, as we've seen, Leon has been able to deal with that very, very well, particularly in the third Usman fight and the Colby fight. So I don't really know what Bilal has to offer that Leon hasn't seen before or hasn't dealt with very well before, which makes me think Leon should be the big favourite. But just even that mentality, if that filters into camp and then for whatever reason, Leon is taking this lightly, he could be really surprised, because I think we're going to see the best Bilal ever, because I believe this might be his only chance to ever become UFC champ. Like, Bilal's not the most exciting guy in the world. So do you think Bilal works his way back to a title shot if he loses this fight?
Nah, no chance. I just think you can tell that the UFC aren't big fans of him. You know, that's why they put him in that room for the amount of time they did. And I think that, you know, this could be his Rocky moment. This could be, I've got the shot and I've got to grab it with both hands here, because it's going to be a long way back for me to get another one, because I've not got star quality. And the UFC, as we've discussed countless times, they love star quality, and it will get you a title shot better than, you know, a 10-fight win streak. But yeah, I don't know. I think Leon's one of the best kickboxers in the UFC, and I think that his takedown defense, as you said, when in that third Usman fight, was superb, and I think with the crowd behind him, I don't think he's going to have took him lightly at all. He's the champ, and he knows what it's like to be hungry for that shot, and he knows that Bilal Muhammad has been waiting for this moment for a long time. So I think there's no way Leon's took this fight lightly, and I think we're going to see Leon get a points victory over 5 rounds.
I think that's maybe the safe option. I'd love to see a finish.
We'd love to see a headshot. Great. Right?
But yeah, I mean, like, let's play devil's advocate here. I think it's obvious that we're both favouring Leon to win this fight, wanting Leon to win this fight.
Yeah, of course.
But just to play devil's advocate here, if Bilal pulls a rabbit out of the hat and beats Leon, what's next for Leon? And can Leon work his way back to a title shot?
I think potentially, if Leon loses, Ian Gary.
Oh, so you wouldn't? There's no immediate rematch, nothing like that. Like, do you think Leon gets back to a title shot? Like, Leon was sort of in Bilal's position now. Leon got his title shot almost like the UFC going, oh, he's won every fight. We have to give it to him. We don't really want to, but we have to. That's the Bilal position now. I believe that Bilal, if he doesn't win this fight, will not get back to a title shot. And I think maybe had Leon lost to Usman and not pulled that head kick out, he maybe would have struggled to ever get back to a title shot at that point.
So what are
you
saying?
Leon Edwards now, though, the Leon Edwards now, I don't think it's any kind of immediate rematch. I think they would do like Bilal Shavkat or something like that. I don't think Leon would get an immediate rematch. But I do think the Leon Edwards now, having defended that belt a couple of times, headshot dead, the UK and maybe even European fans really getting behind him the way they have, I think Leon could find himself at a welterweight title shot after maybe just 1 or 2 more fights if he were to lose. I think he's in a way better position now than he was before he won the belt. And I think that knockout over Usman and the way the fans, I think, have warmed to him means that he is in a much better spot to get back to a title if he were to lose.
And he's a former champ, so that's always going to put you. Yeah, I agree. I think if Bilal wins, I think the UFC just do whatever it takes to get Shavkat in there, I think. And I think that will mean that Ian Gary, as much as he's called out Shavkat, won't get that fight. And I think it'd be a really fun fight, Leon Ian Gary. I think that could be next if he doesn't get the immediate rematch. Well, look, come on, Leon Edwards. Go on.
Come on, Leon. Yeah, we're obviously both picking Leon. We don't both with heads and hearts in Leon.
Absolutely. Do you want to talk about the big fella?
The big fella, 2 big fellas. So yeah, I mean, again, I rewatched the first fight between Blades and Aspinall. There wasn't really any point in me doing that because it's like, I don't know, few seconds really, and then I can't remember if Blades definitely kicked Tom's leg once, but then I can't remember if Tom then did a kick of his own and went down, or I can't remember now. But basically, there's nothing to really learn from that fight. We've been saying for a long time, skill for skill, and I still believe this, skill for skill, Blades should be Tom's biggest test.
Definitely.
In terms of, he is athletic, he is a very good wrestler. He does have knockout power because we saw him knock out the likes of like Chris Dorcas and people like that. But ultimately, as much as skill for skill, Blades feels like the biggest test for Tom, I still feel like there isn't a heavyweight around at the moment that is anywhere near Tom's level. Like, you might be a decent grappler, but Tom will box you up. You might be a good kickboxer, but Tom will wrestle the hell out of you or use his jiu-jitsu, whatever it is. I just don't see, I've not seen any heavyweight show me that they can deal with what Tom has to offer. And I think particularly since watching Curtis Blades versus Jailton Almeida, it makes me worry. Well, it makes me even more confident in Tom's ability to deal with what I thought Curtis's biggest asset would be, and that would be the wrestling. Because Almeida, who I think is quite a bit smaller than both Curtis and Tom, dominated Curtis Blades in the first round of their fight. Absolutely dominated him. It was boring, but he was all over him, and Curtis could not deal with Almeida's wrestling. Like, Almeida didn't get up a huge amount of damage, but Curtis couldn't deal with it. And that makes me think, if Tom decides to take this to the ground and be on top, I reckon he could smash Curtis up on the ground, which is what I thought Curtis's biggest asset was. Look, Tom's come out and said it's heavyweight MMA. Anything can happen. He can get knocked out. That is definitely possible. But if these two fight each other 10 times, looking at it on paper, looking at how they've done in previous fights, looking at Tom's speed, movement, power, have you heard about the fact that he's soaking his knuckles in petrol?
Getting up at 4 a.m. to shadow box inside hay bales in his garden.
Love it. Absolutely love it. That's the story you want to hear. Soaking his knuckles in petrol to make them super hard.
He's been watching Knuckle, hasn't he? The bare knuckle boxing film.
Yeah,
and he's been watching Joe
Joyce,
the other Joe Joyce, talking about fighting people. And apparently he's got some traveller blood in him. So Tom was saying. So he's leaning into that a little bit. But look, yes, he's super athletic, Tom. And now I'm playing devil's advocate here because obviously, Tom's been on the show. He's such a nice dude. And it was lovely to see him in London after his last fight. Come and gave us a hug, didn't he? He was such a nice dude. But look, we've got to kind of look at this as well. Super athletic, great wrestling, and fantastic boxing. He gets all of this stuff done very quickly. And and I'm also looking just through. Blades has been the distance maybe twice in the last God knows how many years now. He went the distance with Volkov in 2020, and who's the other one? Justin Wills in 2019. So the rest of his other fights have been obviously. Sorry, my screen's got a bit weird. Has been weird. This has been through everyone. How do you see this fight going if by round 3 it's just been a bit of a wrestle fest on the floor? Who do you think that favours, Blades or Tom Aspinall?
Firstly, your screen went a little bit delayed there, so I don't know if you need to close an app or something. But I I just don't. I don't see it being the case. I think that whole thing as well is like, oh, the chipper has started. Oh, it's your screen, my sound. This is all going terribly. I don't know if you can hear it. I can hear a chipper going.
That sounds all right. Dude.
But basically, is it Steve Buscemi who gets stuck in the chipper in Fargo, or does he stick someone in the chipper? Do you remember that? Fargo?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah. Is it Steve Buscemi gets stuck in it, or yeah? Okay. Anyway, that's a lovely image. I've just got in my head now. If it does, again, the Almeida fight for me makes me think Tom can really deal with him well. And the fact that he's got that team of guys where he's fighting in or training in Atherton or near Atherton or whatever it is, and he's got those big lads. He's got like the Phil DeFries and the Eddie Halls, and he was talking about other lads that were just like coming from all over the world to train, because it seems to be like the heavyweight gym at the moment almost.
Yeah.
The fact that he's rolling with these big guys, wrestling with big guys all the time, makes me think that this is going to be no problem for him. And again, his jiu-jitsu is slick. I could see him getting him in a submission, but more than that, I don't see it really going to the ground. I think this is going to be on the feet. Curtis Blades has really struggled with hard hitters. Now, I was about to say, is Tom the level of Ngannou and Derek Lewis? I don't think so in terms of power.
Pavlovich would probably say otherwise.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Pavlovich might say otherwise, but Lewis and Ngannou are the ones that absolutely smashed Curtis Blades. But Pavlovich did do it as well. He struggled with big hitters. Tom is quick, and he will land shots on you don't see coming, and they're the powerful ones as well. And I can just see him knocking Curtis out. I really can. And
Manchester will go insane.
It'll be so good. Oh, I wish we were there. I'm absolutely gutted. But yeah, it will be insane. But look, if it goes to the ground, I could definitely see it being a situation where Tom can hold his own and try and submit Curtis. But, maybe Curtis will surprise us. Good wrestler. Maybe it's one of those things where, like, Curtis isn't as good as a defensive wrestler as we thought because of what Almeida did to him. But offensively, still very, very good and can dominate. So if Curtis is the one implementing the takedowns and being on top, maybe he can dominate Tom. That's a question we need answered. And in a way, I'd sort of like to see it, because when people talk about John Jones and Tom, the only thing that would worry me in a John Jones fight is the wrestling. I believe Tom would be quicker and a better boxer and hit harder. Like, as I think you pointed out in the Brad Wharton conversation we had a few days back. John's not a knockout artist. He cannot be with the head kick DC and all those other things, but he's not a knockout artist. And I think Tom could really put hands on him and show his power. But it's the wrestling with John Jones that would worry me. So if Curtis Blades can take Tom down and be on top and dominate from top position, that would worry me about a Jones fight. But if he does that, and Tom can easily stand up, or Tom can land the submission or something, then it makes me think that John really needs to avoid Tom if he wants to stay air quotes, undefeated. We've obviously was disqualified in that Hamill fight. If Blades wins, what do you think happens to the interim title?
I think it becomes something that no one really cares about.
Yeah, good point.
Because, I mean, I don't know how many people. I mean, do you know what? Let me retract that. Depends how he wins it. If he pulls off something and sparks Tom out, then Curtis Blades' stock's going to go. Like Curtis Blades, I don't think we saw him at the press conferences at the first fight on Media Day, and that he's not that interesting. Not interesting, charismatic. I've said, I know I said that about Bilal or Leon. I don't think he's got star quality Curtis Blades. He seems like a pretty, quiet dude. And I don't know. I think Tom Aspinall's really marketable. The British fans love him. And I think where he's, the trajectory of his career so far, it puts so much interest on that interim title because he's been faultless pretty much. Whereas Blades has obviously had some losses. And so I think it makes it more exciting into him that Tom's got it, and he should really be the heavyweight champ. But John Jones, he's, just doing whatever John Jones is doing. Who knows? If Curtis wins, I think that it just doesn't. They'll keep it because John Jones is going to fight Stipe, and they've got to keep that division moving. But
I don't know.
What
I think there's a world in which they strip him.
Really?
Maybe because if John beats Stipe, which let's face it, he will, and let's say that I know that there's a potential court case thing, whatever, coming up with John Jones, but I can't see it being a huge problem. I think he will fight in November. If he beats Stipe in November, I really think there's a possibility, especially if Pereira does fight and beat Ankalaev, which is a big if. It's a big if. But if John Jones beats Stipe and Ankalaev, and either Pereira can avoid Ankalaev or Pereira fights and beats Ankalaev, I think they're doing that fight. And if Pereira were to win it, he's the man. He's the champ. The interim be damned. He's the champ. Whereas I think Tom, as you said, carries more cachet. He's loved by more fans. He speaks really well. He is, as you say, flawless in all of his victories. I know he's got the loss to Curtis Blades, but it's an injury, not really a loss. So, yeah, I mean, you take that away, he's undefeated in the UFC, and all of his fights combined are like, I don't know, just a few minutes, aren't they? Like, most of his fights end in the first round. Dude, I'm trying to remember, when it was the Pavlovich fight, both of them had the shortest UFC fight time or something, or shortest average UFC fight time. And obviously, Tom won that. So, yeah, I'd imagine, and Pavlovich just went to a decision with Volkov. So I imagine Tom now has the shortest average UFC fight time. And that's what you want from your heavyweight.
Yeah.
You don't want to see 5 rounds of whatever. You want to see, I don't know, 30 seconds to 3 minutes of just bungalows being thrown at each other and one of them landing.
Heavyweight shouldn't break a sweat. They shouldn't break a sweat.
Let's try and hit each other at the same time and see who goes down.
Exactly.
You
just described power slap there, but okay.
No, I don't hit at the same time. But yeah, so
who are you picking?
Well, obviously Tom. Tom.
How's he gonna do it?
Maybe he knocks him out in the first round. Maybe he does. And imagine that. We've been saying that Blades is the toughest test that Tom's going to have at heavyweight, because skill for skill, he kind of matches up well with him in terms of athleticism and the ground game and all that kind of stuff. If Tom can just land one big punch on him early, we've seen Blades' chin. I mean, again, I don't think there's anything wrong with Blades' chin. He's been hit by some absolute, just, I don't know, coconut crushers. It's been him, Derek Lewis, Francis Ngannou, Sergey Pavlovich. You're not going to find heavier hitters than those boys. So if Tom can land, if those knuckles are soaked in petrol and become just bricks, then yeah, I think Curtis Blades is in big trouble. If Tom wins, does he defend the interim title again before either becoming the main champ or fighting John Jones?
Well, I think if we're not looking like we're going to get John Jones Stipe for what, I don't know, another 8 months, 9 months.
No, I think it's happening in November.
Right. In which case, then I don't think Tom needs to do anything until after that fight. And then after that fight, if John Jones retires, then I think Tom would probably...
He'd be upgraded, wouldn't he? They'd
have to make him the champion.
They just make it. Because didn't they do that? Did they do that with Robert Whittaker?
I believe so. And I think then they need to... he's got to defend it. And I think, look, the Pereira fight's always exciting. If that happens, that'd be great. Cyril Gane, there's appears to be a bit of bad blood there. He's the one fight that Tom's not had out of all of them, them big boys in that top 10. There's options for that. You know, they're both saying that
But
neither of them.
you think Tom will be the undisputed champ rather than defending the interim title
I think
in his next fight?
Only if Jones retires after beating Stipe.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's what I'm asking you. What's going to happen?
Well, if he doesn't, then he's got no option other than to fight Tom Aspinall.
But can he just fight Pereira?
I mean, the UFC will make that happen.
But that's what I'm saying. That's my whole point. Is that I feel
and
like
so
there is a world in
the meantime, he'll have to fight Cyril Gane then.
Yeah. So there's a very high possibility.
I hope that Tom just
has to defend the interim belt again.
But Tom says these things. He says, "I want to fight. I don't want to be one of these champions that don't fight. I want to fight all the time." And it's like, "Oh, don't fight Cyril Gane. Like, please,
fight him.
Like, no, don't. Just put some pressure on the UFC and go, no, hang on. Let me fight John Jones. I'm the interim champ.
Yeah, but they can't make John Jones. You can't make John Jones fight. What he needs to do.
You can.
No, you can't. You can't. Jones will just go, no, see you later. I'm done. I'm not fighting.
Fuck off then.
But that's the thing. So, like, I think Tom needs to come out. He's got to beat Blades. But if he beats Blades, he's just got to go out and just be like, look, John Jones wants to fight a retired guy that hasn't want to fight in 4 or 5 years. God bless him. Have fun. I'm the heavyweight champion of the world. You cannot be heavyweight champion of the world and take on that guy and avoid me and avoid Blades and avoid Pavlovich. Can't do it. You know, bring up the fact that he waited for Ngannou to leave before he moved up to heavyweight. Throw that in there. And he waited to fight a guy that's a striker that is, and Cyril Gane, bring up the fact that he fought and beat Cyril Gane. Cyril Gane's turning down fights against me because he's so worried. Like, talk like that. And just really lay out the fact that I have, what will he have? Like, I don't know, 8 wins in the UFC heavyweight division or whatever. John Jones has 1. 1. Like, he may be the greatest light heavyweight of all time, but he ain't the greatest heavyweight. That's me. I'm the heavyweight champ. Stuff like that. And I think people will buy into it. And I think people will see him
you need to write that
as
down
the
and
champ.
send it to Tom.
But people will see him as the champ, and they will see John Jones as just like, it's just doing some legacy thing, whatever. He's not the real champ. I think that's what he needs to come out and say.
A lot of people think that anyway.
Yeah. But he's got to say it as well. He's got to put it out there.
Look, when
for
John
it to
Jones
really gain weight.
When John Jones, gets into that, gets into his bed and pulls them covers up and he shuts his eyes, he knows exactly where it's at. He knows that he does not want that fight. He knows that, he does not want to fight a Pavlovich. He doesn't, want to fight, Tom Aspinall. He wants to fight Stipe because he knows he's going to win, and he probably thinks, and then I'll fight that Pereira fella, make loads of money, and I'll beat him. And I think, and I understand why he's doing it, but like, you don't cement legacy by doing that. You look at all the greatest fighters that never ducked a fight. That's what you want. Even if they lost, they never ducked a fight. And that's what I like about a champ. That's why I love a Ricky Hatton. That's why, this guy fought the best, didn't always win, but never ducked a fight and put it all on the line. And that's what makes champions. And John Jones is not behaving like a champion. Okay.
Right, from champions
to kings.
Yep. King Green. Here we go. So first and foremost, Bobby Green has changed his name to King Green. Thoughts on the legal name change? He will get letters from whatever gas and electricity company he's with, addressed to King Green.
I'm loving it.
Are you loving it?
Yeah, Paddy, I think it's brilliant.
To quote Paddy, he thinks he's an absolute sausage.
Paddy calls everyone a sausage.
That's such a funny insult for a
brilliant.
man like that. It's
brilliant.
It's like you. I don't know. Like, Paddy, you're a fighter. You can be quite controversial on social media and all that kind of stuff. You do one of the most crazy sports and violent sports in the world, all that kind of stuff. But your insult to people is you are a piece of food. You're a sausage. It's like a child's insult. But I really like it.
Yeah.
I find it quite funny.
So look, this is the first ranked opponent that Paddy's fought in King Green, and we've mentioned it on a couple of previous shows. It's we've mentioned what a fantastic kickboxer is, Leon Edwards is. But if we're going to talk boxing and straight up hands, I think King Green has got some of the best in the UFC. And I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit worried.
Yeah.
Because we all know Scousers don't get knocked out. But I don't know. There's just that little worry, and I don't want it to happen because we love Paddy, and I just hope Paddy gets him, wrestles him, ties him up, and gets him out of there. But some of the promo that I've seen, Paddy's talking about he's going to stand and trade with him, and I don't know. There's just a little way that Paddy seems to carry his chin a little high in some of them exchanges, and I just think to myself, I just worry that Bobby Green will snipe him at that opportunity with a shot, and I guess no one wants to see a Scouser get knocked out. We all want to see Paddy continue to, rocket up the rankings. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, there was a few fighters in that sort of top 15 that were being rumoured for Paddy. I just think this one could be problematic, but I don't know.
Definitely his toughest test so far. I would say that for sure. I think you've hit the nail on the head. You want Paddy to implement the wrestling, take him down, use his jiu-jitsu. That's what we want for Paddy. I think it's one of those ones where the kind of armchair MMA coach in me is like, I would want him to use a lot of kicks and keep it at kind of kicking range, because I think Paddy's kicks are underrated. I think he's a decent kicker. The low kicks will be there with Bobby. I think he leaves that leg to be kicked.
Yeah, he does.
Don't be in boxing range with him. You're either all the way in and tying him up, or you're all the way out, you're kicking range and all that kind of stuff. Because they say if he plays around in boxing range with him, we saw Jared Gordon land loads of left hooks on Paddy. And as I say, I think there's a world in which Paddy won't get knocked out, but he could lose on points and be, particularly as the fight goes on, if he's been using his kicks and trying to get takedowns and maybe Green's been able to stop the takedowns, Paddy will get tired. And by that third round, Bobby Green's got quite good cardio. I mean, he's getting older now is the other thing. Bobby Green is either 40 or close to 40 now. So, there's that is in Paddy's favour, that he should be able to, have the physical and athletic advantage over Bobby Green. But as the fight goes on, Green usually does quite well.
I worry that, like I said, he made that, Paddy said that, I'm going to stand and knock his chin off or whatever it is. Like, I worry about that kind of mindset with the roar of Manchester when Paddy starts throwing. Like, I think he's a lot smarter than maybe I'm giving him credit for, and he's got a fight plan, and the team at Next Gen are going to go, this is what you do not do. You don't play to his strengths. You fight smart. But how hard must that be to stay on point when that noise in that arena is going to be insane?
That'll be an interesting one to see if his emotions get the better of him in that fight. I think that's a really good point. I do think there is a really good game plan probably in place. And I think, again, we'll see how his emotions do when the crowd is roaring. But have you seen the shape of him? He looks insane. He is ripped. It's one of the best Paddy's ever looked. And Molly, for that matter, who we'll talk about there as well, looked absolutely ripped as well.
Have you been watching the Paddy and Molly TV show?
No, I haven't, but I just seen on Instagram just a couple of photos and videos, and they just both look like they've had phenomenal camps. They both look like they're in the shape of their lives. And that is great to see. So, yeah, I mean, the other interesting wrinkle on this is apparently it's Paddy's last fight on his contract. He's not signed a new deal. Is that a risk? Because the UFC will want to keep him signed. So they probably offered something to him. And he's gone, no, I'll wait till after the Bobby Green fight. And depending on which...
I think he just thinks, I'll fight fucking Jake Paul. Because that's a marketable fight.
He's mentioned YouTubers and all that kind of stuff. And fighting them. I mean, again, the whole Jake Paul thing. Jake Paul, I mean, got a big win against Mike Perry and all that kind of stuff, which I didn't watch. I've seen the knockout. Jake Paul just needs to fight people of his own size. Like, and he's calling out Alex Pereira when Pereira's contracted to the UFC, and he knows that he can't fight him. He knows he can't get out of that contract.
He's just winding up Dana, I think.
He's winding up there, but also he's looking good. He's choosing a time to look good. I called out Alex Pereira. I'd fight him, but not my fault. Daddy Dana keeps him on a leash and all this kind of stuff and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, but he's smart. He's not going to call out Alex Pereira if Alex Pereira's just left the UFC like Ngannou did as champ or something like that. No way. So, yeah. Anyway, back to Paddy and stuff. Last fight in his contract. If he wins this fight against Bobby Green and he's ranked 15th and he can enter negotiations with the UFC and anyone else with you know, as a free agent, he's going to earn big money, big money. So good for him if that works out. And if it doesn't and Green beats him, it'll take a little bit of a dent in some of that, I'd imagine, but maybe not too much. Because again, if the crowd goes nuts for him, that's all you want. You want people to buy tickets, and he's a guy that people, you know, he can put bums on seats. And absolutely. That's all that is. So, yeah, and if he wins, no easy fights, really. I mean, not that this is an easy fight, but you'd be ranked in the top 15. I imagine he'll want to fight up the rankings. So it could be some tough fights, but really interesting fights with Paddy going forward. Do we move on to Arnold and Giga?
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. Is this a must-win for Arnold Allen if he wants to be champ one day?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
I don't think he can lose this and become champ. This sounds harsh, but he's on 2-fight losing streak. One of those to Max Holloway, no shame in that. And the other one to Movsar Evloev, there would be no shame in that. But also, I think he won that fight.
I thought he won that, and I thought he gave Max Holloway a better fight than Justin Gaethje. I thought Arnold looked fantastic against Max Holloway in such a massive step up, which I think will, when that title shot does come Arnold's way, which it will, I think he's already experienced being in there with Max Holloway, you know, and yeah, I think that he'll get that shot, and I think that he'll have a big win this weekend, Arnold. Yeah. I think he's going to be. He knows the pressure. You don't want 3 losses on your record, and look, you know, them losses. There's no shame in them. Like you say, we both thought he beat Movsar, and I thought he looked fantastic against Max Holloway. But yeah, I think Chikadze, he's not going to beat Arnold in Manchester. It's not going to happen.
No, I think Arnold is Giga's toughest fight to date. I don't think he's fought anyone as well-rounded as Arnold Allen. Arnold Allen's very good striker and moves very, very well. But the key to victory here, and I hope Arnold fights smart, because there can be a want to show people that you can get a finish that's exciting, a want to strike with a good striker in front of, you know, a home country fan base. Take him down there. Do what Calvin Kattar sort of fortunately got Giga Chikadze down in their fight in the first round, and it seemed to tire Giga out. That would be the game plan if I was his coach, and I'm sure he's really regretful that I'm not his coach. He would want me in his corner, coming up with game plans, all that stuff, because yeah, who knows more about MMA than some actor off TV.
I'm loving the fact now you're not only have you just written Tom Aspinall's post-fight script, you've now wrote Arnold's game plan as well. You got it now, mate, I'll tell you.
but in all seriousness, that's what I would hope for him, because I think that you might want to strike with him, do what he did against Dan Hooker, any of those kind of things. Just take it, just get the win, because this is so important. It's more important that you win than anything else. And the path to victory would be to take him down and beat him up on the ground, because Giga is very good on the feet, kicks incredibly well. He's got those liver shots, all that kind of stuff. Get him down on his back, and I think Arnold will have his way with him. Arnold is so strong. And we saw in the Mobsar fight, his ground game's fantastic. So if he can just get him down and beat him up a bit on the ground, I think even if he just does that in round one, a lot of Giga's power, stamina, and speed will be gone, because Arnold will have sucked it out of him. And I think that is that's the obvious path to victory for Arnold. If it does play out on the feet, I think it could be a great scrap, because I do think Arnold's a very good striker as well. I just think that is the easy path to victory. But
Absolutely.
but who knows? Hopefully he goes down that route.
Bloody love Arnold Allen.
I bloody love Arnold Allen as well. I really, to me, it was a travesty that he was overlooked when there was that interim title fight between Yair Rodriguez and Josh Emmett. Arnold Allen should have been one of the guys in that fight for sure. So that's a real shame that never worked out for him. Speaking of someone who could very easily get a title shot after a win on Saturday night, we move on to Mohamed Mokaev and Manel Kape. A lot of people seeing this as a number one contender fight for the flyweight title. I think either guy gets a finish for sure. They could be getting the next title shot. You've been quite critical of Mokaev, and that he's been quite dull, even though he has got a lot of finishes. They've come in, kind of dull fights or whatever it is. If Mokaev gets a dull decision, or like a split decision win that is a little bit controversial, is that enough for a title shot?
I think so. 12-0. And you get rid of Manel Kape. I think. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just looking at...
Just to put other names out there, Amir Albazi, I believe, is injured, but he's ranked third.
He's injured.
And Tatsuro Taira is ranked fifth, above Mokaev and Kape, undefeated, 2 KOs in his last 2 fights on a 6-fight UFC win streak. Mohamed Mokaev would be on a 7-fight win streak, and he has a lot of finishes if he beats Kape. But does Tatsuro Taira ranked fifth, with 2 KOs in his last 2 fights, and we've seen Steve Erceg get a shot after that KO he had.
Yeah.
Would Mohamed Mokaev be worried about Tatsuro Taira getting a shot instead of him?
Potentially. But I mean, it's there for the taking. Make out this weekend. And we don't need another Alex Perez fight. We don't need a Charles Johnson fight. I don't know. It just, I thought Tim Elliott looked really good against him in the early rounds.
Yeah, he did.
And I thought Malcolm Gordon looked half decent against him. I don't think, it's really weird, right? Because he's getting the wins, and you can't knock him for that. But I think there was so much hype around him being so young, and looking great. And he's come into the UFC, and he's continued that trajectory. But I don't know. For me, I just don't find him that exciting to watch. I really hoped he would have been more exciting to watch.
He was incredible in that debut he had against Durden, wasn't he?
Oh, amazing. And we was at that, wasn't we?
Yeah, we were.
Yeah. And it just felt, I mean, don't get me wrong, seeing his leg being bent 90 degrees the wrong way and still win that fight was crazy.
Incredible.
But do you want to be talking about someone that was that incredible that their leg got bent the wrong way and they nearly lost? And then
and against the guy that was debuting in Jafal Filo, it does. Yeah.
Like, yes, it's a moment that people will always go, oh my God, how did he get out of that? But he shouldn't have been in that against the guy on his debut. He shouldn't.
Yeah.
But he found himself there, and and I guess it was just sheer grit, determination, and madness that he didn't tap. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think if people are putting that in Makayev's highlight reel, not tap into that, then that says a lot about his highlight reel. That it's not that great.
There's part of me that thinks you're being a little bit harsh, but I also do see where you're coming from with some of that. I think Manel Cap is probably more guaranteed a title shot with a win, because the chances are if Cap wins, it's because he's knocked him out.
And he'll grab that mic and he will make that count.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, he might make that count by saying some really inflammatory and homophobic things, but there you go. But yeah, but he knocks people out. That Ode Osborne flying knee was phenomenal. He's got other knockouts as well. He did come into the UFC and struggle a bit against Pantoja. So the other thing is he has already lost to Pantoja, but I think it was a close fight. So we'll see. I think it's going to be interesting. I think if Cap wins, he's definitely getting a title shot. If Makayev wins, he's probably getting a title shot, but I wouldn't be surprised for the UFC to go, no, we're going to give it to Tyra instead. So we will have to wait and see. On to the prelims. Nathaniel Wood taking on Pineda. Pineda's been around a long time.
Yeah, he's just coming off a loss to Bruce Leroy. And his last win was over Tucker Lutz. Beginning of this year. Other than that, he hadn't fought in the UFC.
Well, he's done
Andre Philly had the he had the eye poke, didn't he? And then and that was following on from a loss to Cub Swanson. So
I mean, he's been at the UFC. He was at the UFC many, many years ago for a decent chunk. Then he went to Bellator. Yeah. Then he went to the BFL. Then he went back to the UFC. So he's been around that block. He's 38 years old, kind of a veteran of the sport. I do think Nate should have the speed advantage. And if he keeps it on the feet, I mean, Pineda has KO'd a couple of people, but Pineda's more of a get you down to the ground and submit you type fighter. So again, the worry with Nate is that because he's come from bantamweight, when he fights people that are heavy grapplers, can he keep it on the feet and not get smothered? We saw in the Naimov fight that he got smothered a bit, but then that Naimov fight was dodgy. He was like, wasn't there like multiple low blows, a fence grab?
It was so naughty.
Definitely should have had a point taken away, Naimov. That was really bad that he didn't have a point taken away.
Yeah.
So in that Naimov fight being his only loss at featherweight, he's won 3 times at featherweight. And against decent guys, looking really good. So I do think that Nate's speed will be the big factor here. And he can wrestle well enough, I think, to keep this on the feet. Just, I always just am slightly concerned for Nate because I really like him. And obviously he's in a higher weight class than what he was starting off at. And he has been looking very good, but there's definitely a size difference there with some people. Feely looked really big against him as well, from what I remember. But obviously Nate got the job done. So let's hope that we get a Nate win here against Pineda. And I think he should be able to. He should get it done on the feet as well.
And we would have loved to have been speaking to all these people in the lead up, but as we've been, said, we've been flat out with work. So let's look at hopefully when things calm down post Manchester. Be great to get Nathaniel back on. Be great to get Arnold back on and talk about their outings in Manchester.
Absolutely. Molly McCann?
Meatball, yeah, absolutely.
Meatball.
Looking good at 115 there. Looking really cut. And
the photos, she's got 6 packs. She looks fantastic. Maybe this should have always been her weight class. She looks fantastic at this weight class.
Absolutely.
Having been on that journey at 115, she is now 34. So, hopefully these cuts aren't too draining on her as she's getting older. Bruna Brazil.
She got that win over Shauna Bannon, didn't she? When we was
she did.
At London.
Yeah, she's 1-2 since joining the UFC. So obviously she got fond memories of fighting in the UK because she beat Shauna Bannon last year. But I just think Molly should be too much for her. I think, I've not seen anything from Bruna Brazil that should really cause Molly too many issues. Molly's really up to a grappling game of late and done really well. But she's always that scrapper, that fighter, that boxer. She'll never lose that. And she's a fan favourite.
She's going to be walking out to some noise that she's never experienced in her life before, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Walking out of the O2 to fight Shauna Bannon, on the early prelims, he's not going to be walking out to fight Molly McCann in Manchester.
No.
That's going to be a big, big racket, that is.
And I think because Molly's Molly, a win here means she could fight a ranked opponent and just see where that goes. But a loss here against some of the caliber of Bruna Brazil, I think it's not the end of anything because Molly is a fan favourite. She's really well loved. You can put her on cards and people are interested. I don't think the UFC would ever cut her. But a loss here against this level of opponent really does probably take away any title opportunities as there's any kind of reality. I mean, it's already quite a feat to think of Molly going for a belt down at strawweight. But, if you keep winning, then it's always there. But a loss here, I don't know. Then I think you're resigned to going, let's just have some fun fights. Let's fight in all the UK cards and just get the crowd going, have some fun scraps. And it doesn't necessarily mean anything more going forward other than just the fight itself and a paycheck. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you think that's fair to say?
I think so. Don't get me wrong. I want to see Molly do a number on Saturday and get a crack at that shot.
Yep.
But it's there's a lot of fighters that are probably getting a lot closer to that opportunity. But like you say, like I said, at the beginning of the show, Molly McCann's a star, and that star quality will fast track you. And she's such a wonderful human has backed this show right from the beginning. Has been on countless times. So come on the meatball. I don't know what's next on your listings here, but I do actually just want to talk about a fight. I mean, we'll touch on a few because there's so many, and they're all. I feel like we should all give them plenty of time because they've all been. Most of the fighters have been big supporters of the show, and have all been on. But I'm interested in Ramon Tavares got injured and won't be fighting Kayla Loughran there, and they've pulled in another former guest of the show, Jake Hadley, on a week's notice. And Jake's fighting up a weight for this as well. So I suppose that means no kind of weight cut for Jake. I think this has got the makings of being a really exciting fight. I'm hoping that Jake was training. He's pulling up to see if he had a fight lined up. Jake Hadley, he's a dog, and and he's coming off 2 losses. He's got that loss to Charles Johnson and Cody Durden. So I think this. There was no other fight scheduled for him. I'm hoping he's fit because I think this could be a really exciting fight. It was only a few fights ago we was all excited that Jake Hadley might fight Makayev because there's beef there and they were both on a bit of a tear. But Jake's
careers have gone in very different directions, haven't they?
Absolutely. But Jake's fight's probably still more interesting to watch. But I think this could be this could be a good one.
Just had to slip that in there, didn't you?
I couldn't help it.
I think you're right. It could be a good one. A lot on the line for Jake, maybe, even though he's doing the UFC a favour here. 3-fight losing streak never looks good.
Never looks
So we'll
good.
have to see what happens there.
But stepping in last minute and getting a win, that's going to do you all sorts of favours with the UFC.
It really would. It really would. So that'd be great for him. But we've had, as you say, we've had Jake and Kalen on the show. So tough one to pick a winner there. Christian Leroy Duncan's had an interesting little time of it because he was fighting Robert Brichek, I want to say. But Brichek's injured. And in steps Gregory Rodriguez. And you've gone from a guy who, was he on his debut? Brichek? I don't know if he was on his debut or if he's just had like one fight in the UFC. But Rodriguez he's had like 8 UFC fights and he's had good wins over the likes of like Brad Tavares and people like that. A win here for Christian Leroy Duncan does way more for him in fans' opinions and in UFC's opinion than a win over Brichek would have done. I mean, this is massive for him. This is a huge opportunity for him to take on Gregory Rodriguez on short notice. I wonder if Rodriguez just really fancied a trip to England. Like, I don't know why he's taken. Just wanted an holiday in England.
I see that Tower of London.
See it, yeah. I mean, because he's 4-1 in his last 5 fights. All those 5 fights ending by KO or TKO. 4 KO, TKO wins, 1 loss. Chances are this ain't going to the judges because Christian Leroy Duncan, another phenomenal striker as well. Yeah, I think this could be a really fun one, and it could be over quick.
I love Christian Leroy Duncan. You know,
his style's fantastic, isn't it?
Mark Weir in his corner, like the whole thing, like and he just throws exciting combinations. His kicks are fantastic, and he's just a big boy. And don't get me wrong, he's got a big boy staring across, the octagon at him as well in Rodriguez. When I saw this fight got announced, I was like, oh yes, please, this is good, and I think we're going to see Christian make a real statement here.
Yep.
I mean, he's been up to my understanding, he's been training with Leon Edwards for the whole of this camp, so he's going to be training very, very high level, and yeah. Well, I'm hyped for this one, mate. I think this, for me personally, is the best card of the year. Like, just because
it's not better than UFC 300. What are you talking about?
Because let me finish. Let me finish.
God, Stu, with him.
Right, I think this card, personally, I said, because there's so much emotional investment in all of these fighters that we've met, that we've had on the show, that have supported the show, that you love them. And it's like, I don't want to see any of them lose. And for me, there's not one fight on this card that I'm not excited about. And even on UFC 300, there was fights on that card that I weren't that bothered about.
What the fuck are you talking about?
This is the best card of the year for me. For me.
No, I mean, this is the best card of all time because UFC 300 was like the greatest card of all time. Like, what are you saying?
I'm so excited.
I swear to God, sometimes you just say stuff to wind me up, Stu. I just, like, you can't mean that. You can, don't get me wrong. Yeah, love it. I love a UK card, loads of UK fighters. We've interviewed loads of them. I have an emotional investment, of course I do. When UFC 300.
There's no fights on it I'm not really excited to watch. I'm just looking for it again.
I can't believe what you're talking about. UFC 300 opened with Davidson Figueiredo versus Cody Garbrandt.
Yeah, there was some other ones on there that were a bit average, though. That was a good start. But there was a couple of fights on there.
Mate, you know what? If we get further into this, I'm going to start getting genuinely annoyed. So I'm just going to have to go past this.
Right, look, we've got to get past it because we've been down an hour and we've got about another 30 fights to talk about.
No, if Pip is listening to this, I know we're going to get a message on the WhatsApp group just being like, what the fuck is Stu talking about?
Oh, dear, oh, dear.
Owen Elliott, former guest of the show, the Welsh gangster, is taking on Preston Parsons. We love Owen Elliott, one of the best interviews in all of MMA. He just wears his emotions on his sleeve. Yeah. Wonderful guy. We've had him on a couple of times that performance to get into the UFC on the Contender Series was stunning, just remarkable. He looked down and out, incredible comeback. What a warrior he is. And he's taking on a guy with 4 UFC fights. He's 2-2. He's lost some good guys. Trevor Giles has been around a long time, and Daniel Rodriguez, he's a very, very good fighter. He's got wins over Matthew Semmelsberger, who's been around a long time as well. So Preston Parsons is a decent challenge for Oban Elliott.
Oban Elliott is made to walk out of Manchester in front of a UK crowd. He's going to absolutely thrive off of it. And love the Welsh gangster. Love the Welsh gangster.
Love him. He can get clipped, so we got to hope that, he's right. I mean, he got great chin on him, though, but he can get clipped. Let's hope he can implement some of that boxing that we love and also those takedowns and really get that ground and pound going. Mick Parkin is fighting as well. I can't pronounce his name. Luke against Lucas Brzezinski. Yeah, I believe it is.
Yeah, Brzezinski. I mean, Mick Parkin obviously training up there with Big Tom, as is Modestas Bukauskas has been up there training with Big Tom as well. Who's fighting? Didn't know that. Who's fighting on the prelims as well. Both former guests of the show, both absolute gentlemen as well. Love Big Mick Parkin. Just saying that his mum never thought he'd make it because he was a soft lad, and he's now fighting in the UFC in the heavyweight division, and he's 9-0. So I think we're going to see Mick really sort of come into his own, because, as you said at the beginning of the show, Blake, he's training with Tom and them absolute monsters up there. And be interesting to see, at 205, what training with them boys has done for Modestas Bukauskas, who's kind of had a bit of an up and down few fights recently, but let's see to get him back on a tear.
He's against, let's see, Brzezinski. Not done great lately. Had a no contest in the Contender Series. I don't know if that means that he popped for something or his opponent popped for something, but there's no contest on the Contender Series. But then he's gone on a 3-fight losing streak in the UFC heavyweight division, and then got a win probably in a fight that was going to be all she wrote if he lost it, and he probably would have been cut from the UFC on a 4-fight losing streak. But he won against Walter Walker, and I mean, you got to say, it feels like they've set Parkin up for the win here. I feel like Parkin 9-0, undefeated, taking on a guy that is 1-3 in the UFC. So you would hope, especially with, as you say, the training he's doing with the likes of Tom Aspinall and that big team up there, should do him the world of good, and hopefully he'll be looking at a 10-0 record after Saturday night. Another England v Ireland fight is going down. Sam Patterson taking on Kiefer Crosby. Have you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, Kiefer Crosby, I think I'd seen him fighting Bellator a few years back, and there was some hype about him. I then saw him box Aaron Chalmers, the Geordie Shore lad, in some exhibition show not that long ago. And then obviously he made his UFC debut against Kevin Jossett on the Adesanya Strickland card. Got choked out in the first round. Sam has obviously looked good in his last fight, but in his fight before that in London, obviously Sam had that brutal KO loss. But so I think this is quite a nice matchup, and be interested to see how it goes. We've not had Kiefer on the show. Obviously, Sam popped down the studio to see us after his last win, and what a top lad he is as well. And
lovely lad.
So best of luck to Sam. And what else have we missed? I know we got Sean O'Bannon fighting on the card.
Really missed much. Modestas Bukauskas, as you mentioned, against Marcin Prasnio. I mean, again, I don't have much more to say about any of the other fights. We've been talking for over an hour on this. We apologise again that we're not in the studio, but this is what happens when you decide to do a podcast about MMA when you have jobs and families and other commitments. So that's what's going down. Have you got any other fight that you want to talk about?
No, I'm just so excited for it. I think there's so many, as I said, personally speaking, it's the most excited I've been for a card in so long because of the emotional investment. I know it's not UFC.
Well, yeah, it's better than 300, isn't it? No,
like,
you said it's better. You said it's better than UFC 300.
Listen,
Quote Stu Whiffen, 304 will go down in history as the greatest card of all time and was way better than UFC 300, according to Stu Whiffen.
I'm more emotionally involved in this card than I've ever been in any other card because there's essentially a Brit on every single fight, and we've had them all on the show, and I can't wait. Oh my God! Do you know what? I really, really, really want to see Tom Aspinall do something miraculous at the weekend and just do everything you said. Do that call out at the end. Really try and humiliate John Jones, not nastily, but just spell it out. What are you doing? Why aren't you doing this?
It could one main card. It could be don't get me wrong. Obviously, we want to see success on the prelims as well. But when you think about main card, you got Arnold Allen back in the win column, takes down Giga, just smashes him up, ground and pound, done. Then you got Mohamed Bakayev, takes down Cat, locks up a rear naked choke, boom, he's getting a title shot in his next fight. Paddy Pimblett takes down Bobby Green, or flying triangles, Bobby Green, and that's it, he's in the rankings. All the doubters, shut up, Paddy Pimblett's in the rankings. And then you got Tom Aspinall knocks out Curtis Blades, and then Leon Edwards, headshot dead, Bilal's down. 2 champions still from the UK. An incredibly successful night for the British fighters. Oh, man, it almost makes me want to stay up and watch it all. Almost.
Absolutely. Well, look, we'll be back next week to talk about all the action in our post-fight show. Yep. And whether that'll be in the studio or not, we're not too sure yet. But following that, we'll be back in the studio. We're going to try and catch up with some of the fighters that have been on this card. And talk to them about how the fights went for them and what they took from it. And other than that, go check out our sponsors, Fat Candy and Ferocious Fightwear, at the links in the show notes. Other than that, if you've not watched the show before, head over to YouTube and give it a little watch and subscribe. And yeah, if you've got any mates there in MMA, tell them about the show. Spread the word. Spread the love.
Oh, you say spread? I should actually jump in. Too late now. I should have got this in at the start of the show. I've got a film out on a streaming platform called Tubi, which is completely free. You can download that. It's called Spread. There you go. And
your character looks really, really nerdy in it.
Really sexy, I think you mean, mate.
Yeah, I mean, well, there you go. There's 2 opinions there. I suggest that you go over to, what was the platform called?
So it's called Tubi, which is a new streaming platform in the UK, but there's no subscription. It's completely free. Only thing I've only just found out is Spread is on the America one and not on the UK one. So you do have to use a VPN if you've got one, which sucks. I thought it was just coming out properly as it should. But yeah, if you've got a cheeky VPN and you want to watch a 90-minute comedy set in a porn magazine where I'm playing a fucking weirdo, then check out Spread on Tubi. And as I say, completely free, no subscription, just download and off you go.
I mean, I know there's that bloke from the In-Betweeners is in it. Is there anyone else famous in it?
Harvey Keitel, mate.
Let's just throw that in there. Only
Harvey Keitel, Mean Streets.
Bad Lieutenant, Harvey Keitel. Incredible, mate. Incredible.
Mr. Wolf from Pulp Fiction. Mr. White from Reservoir Dogs. Just me and him, just chatting away, improvising. Oh, so cool.
That is quite cool, though, isn't it?
That is actually bloody cool, yeah.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.